In this video, I'll be exposing the dark and controversial techniques used by vengeance demon hunters in rated battlegrounds. Hello, and welcome to Archvelder's Hacks with Archvelder and his amazing hacks. There was a recent video uploaded by Savix, which I'll link to in the description below. Now, this video was highlighting issues to do with bugs in PvP battlegrounds, and particularly to do with demon hunters. It attracted quite a response, and particularly from people who subsequently went and posted links to the video on the official forums and demanded Blizzard do something. Now, I must stress I have no real problems with what Savix was saying, which was essentially the game is broken and Blizzard need to fix it. I particularly appreciated the fact that he didn't call out the individuals using the tactics in question and was actually quite complimentary about their skill. That said, I feel like there are a number of issues that need to be dealt with here and clarified. The Savix video shows real-time gameplay footage, and judging from his comment section, in places some viewers had some difficulty following. So in this video I'm going to slow things down a bit and recreate what the Demon Hunter was doing without too much going on in the background. No UI and no nameplates. Now, the first issue that I'm going to deal with from the video is, you can see here, a demon hunter can jump up and down the platform in the base in Twin Peaks. Double jumping removes most of the pathing issues you might have. When you can do this as a flag carrier, it does give you a small advantage, but it isn't as much as you might think, mainly because any kind of crowd control makes it much more difficult to carry out. When being targeted by multiple enemies, it is often better to concentrate on other defensive actions until you can get away. Note that also, it isn't that difficult for other classes with reticle targeting movement abilities to do the same thing, as I'm demonstrating with my rogue here. And of course, monks and locks can just use demonic circle or transference to port up to the ledge. Now, I'd hesitate to call this an exploit or bug abuse. There are a number of ways to counter it. If the Demon Hunter had just wanted to exploit a win, then he'd have undoubtedly taken advantage of the Demon Hunter's ability to escape the battleground and hide in a forbidden area until the opposing team's EFC was killed. For example, in this area I'm showing here. So either the Demon Hunter didn't know that much about exploits, or didn't consider the platform jumping strategy an exploit, as I don't. Savix also posted footage of a demon hunter using similar strategies in Warsong Gulch. He showed the demon hunter escaping off the topmost platform of the Alliance base, as I'm showing here. It is interesting that you have to stand on one of the pots for this to work. Again, all targeting reticle based movement abilities work here, so this is not a Demon Hunter specific issue. Now, from this position it is possible to jump over the fence at the top of the Alliance base on top of the entrance to the Alliance tunnel. The player can jump back and forth over the fence to escape attack repeatedly. Now, somewhat controversially, and this is clearly something not intended, Savix shows the enemy player jump through the ground under the fence into the tunnel. And because Savix shows things from his own perspective, we don't see exactly how the Demon Hunter does this. But when I do it here, a number of things become apparent. Some have cited this as an example of deliberate bug abuse or exploitation. That may be the case, but it is very easy to do this accidentally when trying to jump up on the area in front of the fence. Interestingly, this seems to happen at least partly because the demon transformation you get with every infernal strike acts much like the giant growth glitch explorers use to break through walls. The wall has to be quite insubstantial for this to work, but under an object like a fence it is paper thin. The Savix video also mentions an exploit that has appeared a number of times on the official bug report forums recently. On the top floor of the Alliance Warsung Gulch base, if you use an ability such as Fear, Polymorph, or in this case, Dragon's Breath, the enemy player will be instantly killed when they fall through the terrain, or they will be trapped there indefinitely. It was very difficult to get footage of this because it happens instantaneously and you have to watch it in slow motion to see exactly what happens. Even then, it's not that obvious. Watch the orc very closely here. And I'll just replay that again in case you didn't catch it. Now, there are a number of issues here. First, some of the tricks I've mentioned in this video are not what I would think of as unfair tactics. Jumping over a wall is not, to my mind, unfair. Indeed, Savix's team actually won the Warsung Gulch match in question, according to one comment from a player claiming to have been on the opposite team. That said, I can understand the frustration of players on the sharp end of these strategies. First, let's make it clear that these are not hardcore exploits. For example, it is quite possible, using an exploit, to fly into the air as a demon hunter, obtain infinite height, and cap the flag never touching the ground or being in range of enemy players. The players Savix shows are not hardcore about breaking the rules, whether you consider that a good or a bad thing. Additionally, these tricks are very public. They can't be disguised effectively. Consequently, they will get reported, and Blizzard doesn't seem to want to take any action. It's worth pointing out that if you were determined to try and win at high-level RPGs using exploits, then you would probably want to do things that were much harder to detect. Now, just a word of explanation here as to my background. This is an exploit channel. I'm an exploiter. I've received bans on several occasions. However, I'm also a recreational PvPer, which means that I'm not that keen on seeing anything which would make the game unplayable. The classic example being excessive botting. Earlier in my YouTube career, I made several PvP exploit guides, which were popular, but I gradually posted less and less of that material, partly due to some resistance from some of my audience, who were quite happy to take advantage of exploits for personal use, but felt that other players weren't fair game in the same way that a billionaire corporation like Blizzard was. To tell the truth, while I developed a lot of PvP exploits, I very rarely use them for game advantages, except for demonstration purposes, or when I'm playing a team which is itself using unambiguous cheating techniques, such as kickbotting or lag bombs. The basic problem for Blizzard is that World of Warcraft grew out of a two-dimensional RTS game engine and has struggled with offering any kind of three-dimensional mobility. This leads to all kind of inconsistent weirdness. For example, there's actually an invisible wall over the Alliance fence. If you try and jump it using Hunter Disengage, for example, you'll just bounce off it. But targeting reticle movement abilities bypass the invisible wall. Why? Who knows? It would be better to remove the invisible wall, thereby leaving more classes the opportunity to jump the fence, which is a tricky maneuver to perform. Now, my main motivation in posting this video is to show exactly what is happening here, and particularly to caution against a lazy and oversimplified reaction from Blizzard that would damage the game far more than any problem it would solve. The problems that Savix's video illustrated have no easy solution without fundamentally altering the game mechanics. For example, the exploit I mentioned, the insta-kill exploit on the top floor of the Alliance base, arose primarily because Blizzard attempted to lazily nerf flag hiding exploits. Any reforms that are carried out have to be tackled on an individual basis intelligently, and crucially, any attempt to level the playing field should also enhance the fluidity of gameplay and enjoyment of all classes. So there's the video. If you liked it, why not subscribe? And if you really liked it, why not consider joining my super secret Patreon feed, where all the exploits that I can't publish publicly get posted. Thanks for watching. This has been Archfelder. This guy has been trying to jump up to where my warlock is on the stump for about 3 minutes now. And with that type of persistence, you can move mountains.